All right, hello and welcome back. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College Summer Adventure Academy series, I have been doing a series of videos on MIT's Android App Inventor 2. And we have just built the interface for the 8th of our 9 apps, and that app is our Magic 8-Ball app. So you can see that right now we can click in here and enter a question. So I can do it either, I can use this. Will I ever be rich? Okay, well, I guess I made a mistake. That's fine. All right, I'd have to remove that, but you get the idea. I think I can. But if I click submit right now or reset, I don't have the ability to do anything, okay? Just because that hasn't been put into the program yet. So that's what we're going to start doing now. But one thing that you should really be thinking of as you're working on this stuff, and that is, okay, is there anything magical I want to have happen when the program first begins? And if there is, you put that into your screen 1 initialize routine. Well, there's 3 things that I want to have happen when the program initializes. The first thing is, and I forgot to add it, is I want to come in here and under media, I want to add a sound component. You'll see why in a couple minutes because I forgot to add another file. But we'll do that in just a bit. Okay? But what we'll want to do also is we want to bring in, when we start the program, we want to bring in all of these images because at any one time, any of those 15 images could be in there. So that's the first thing we want to do. The next thing that we want to do is when we start, we want this button to be enabled, to be blackened like it is, but this one to be disabled. So that text, that reset, should be blank, kind of like in a gray. And the reason that we want that is when you first start, there's no reason to reset. All right, just like when we have a question there and we're about to click submit, you'll see that the reset button then will end up ungraying, so to speak. All right, one thing I forgot to mention to you, and I'll do that right now, is that I have one more file in here that I forgot to tell you about, and it is a WAV file. If you'll have to listen. So when it gives the answer, I'm going to have it play ta-da. Okay, so let me bring that file in as we get started here. It'll just take a second. That's what's going to go into our sound component. All right, so we can upload one more file, choose file. Let's go up one level to sounds and bring in tada.wave. Click OK. And now for our sound component, the source will be tada.wave because that's the only thing we're ever going to have in there. So I'm adding that right now. And it makes sense to add it at the beginning. To me, at least, it does. All right, so I'm going to go into my blocks editor. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to have 2 different variables in this program. All right, the first variable is going to hold the number of the image that I currently have. And I don't want procedures, so I want variables. So I'm going to do this twice. All right, so the first one is going to be called image number. And I'm going to initialize that to 0. And my second variable is going to be called answers. And I'm going to initialize that not to 0, but it's going to hold the answer. All right, so I'm going to initialize that to the empty string. So those are my two variables. And when I initialize, I want those three things to happen that we mentioned before. So let's go when screen 1 initialize. This is going to be a little laborious, all right? Because this answers is going to be a list that's going to hold each one of those, each one of the different possible answers, all right? Not 0, because that's the 8-ball itself, but the other 14 images that I have. So what I want to do is I want to set my global answers to, and I'm making this a list. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a list. And I'm going to keep adding and adding and adding and adding and adding stuff in here. So in other words, what I want to add here, is one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, that was kind of goofed up. 13, 14. Okay? So, because I'm trying to show good programming etiquette here, all right, let's add some comments. So we'll add a comment here. And this variable will hold the image number, which in other words will be 1.png through 15.png. All right. This will end up actually being, this will be a list, and it holds the possible answers from the Magic 8-ball. All right. So when we initialize this right here, this will literally hold the 14 different .png files representing all possible answers. All right. The other things that I want to do then is I want to make sure that the submit button, when I start this, you'll notice if you look, there is an enabled property for the submit button. And there is also an enabled property for the reset button. So when I start, I want the submit button, I want it to be set to true, and I want the one for the reset to be set to false. All right. Put a comment here. It's a little overkill, but make sure that the submit button is enabled at program startup. Copy that to the clipboard. Why? So I can come back into here, add another comment, and say make sure that the reset button is disabled at program startup. All right, so I've got those. Now I want to come in here and I want to put in 1.png. Oops, I don't know what happened there, but something did. 1.png. Not sure exactly what happened there when I did that, but 1.png. All right. Let's duplicate that and we'll put it here. You can kind of see what we're going to do here. 2.png. Now what is that saying? Slow and steady wins the race type of an idea. I could just do all these at one time and come back, but doing it this way, hopefully I won't miss anything. Again, I don't have number. Well, I'm missing one. We'll go back and we'll look at it. In the designer, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't have number 12 for whatever reason. So I don't have to put that one in. If I did put it in and that didn't exist, it's not like it's going to really hurt anything. The order in which you put these in also really shouldn't matter. I like to do them in order probably for two reasons. One is I'm a little anal that way. All right. And the other is it's much easier to see if I possibly missed anything when I put them into the right order. Right. At least in my opinion. You may or may not agree with that. So again, we don't have a 12. So that'll go right to 13. 214, and finally to 15. So as you can see, I have now finished with my initialize routine. In that initialize routine, I created a list and added to that list. Again, a list is sort of synonymous with an array in other languages, but I put in all of the images other than my beginning image, because those are the possible answers. All right, I put in comments, and this will hold the image number eventually. I also made sure that when the program started, the submit button was enabled and the reset button was disabled. Now, the only thing that should look different when I go back to the emulator, is looking at it, all right, and it doesn't show here, but that reset button should be grayed out. So let's see if I go back and I reset my connection and I go back to the emulator again. I don't know why I'm doing that, but I am. Here we go. So I want to see if right here, once we get done with this, if indeed the the submit button is enabled, so it's blackened, and the reset button is grayed or disabled. After I get done and hopefully verify this, I can then go to this initialize, and I will make sure that the initialize is collapsed, because there's no reason, shouldn't be any reason for me to have to look at it. So you see that indeed, once we start, the reset button is grayed where the submit button is not. All right, that's good. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to collapse it, and we'll leave it. We'll put it up here. All right. Let's check my time here. I'm at 14 minutes. I could keep going, but I'm going to stop right now. When I come back, I'm going to do the code for the reset button. When we think about what's going to happen for the reset button, we'll go over all of that stuff in the next lecture.